is Imp K, Lokessen, chieftain of the Satanic Order of Wyrd. And this is sermon number 4, Imp's Poetic Guide to Anthropomancy and Cannibal Craft. To date, sermons 1 through 3 have been excerpts and or extensions from the book The Satanic Order of Wyrd. Until now, the following poems and prose are excerpts from the Slange, Book of Madness, the SOW Grimoire, written by Imp K Lokessen himself, long before he became me. But I digress. Returning to topic, this grimoire, in addition to a virtually unknown magic language, chaos and sigil magic, incantations, and so on, the book contains poems and prose on anthropomancy and cannibal craft, two magical practices with similar concepts, or at least similar means to an end. Divinity by means of blood, entrails, and the exclamations of pain therein, and to extract and consume varying powers associated with different organs and body parts. The poems and prose, in addition to being instructions on or descriptions of these rituals, they are also poetic talismans and or charms capable of accomplishing or summoning energies, energetic entities, and so on. So without further ado, here is Imp K Lokessen's Poetic Guide to Anthropomancy and Cannibal Craft. I invoke the power of Awaz to bless the viscera of the sacrificed. May Loka and the gods accept this offering in their honor. Hoggle Satanin Loka. Disembowel the sacrificial one. Grace your chalice with the blood and drink. Clear your mind, O beloved son. Inhale, exhale, slow and deep. Observe the entrails in depth. Let the answers simply appear. Origin north, clockwise, runt the mess. You see the futures in the body if north is near. Present if centered, past if south. Present and future, you're in the west or east now. Familiar are the shapes as something or someone, like dreams and symbols whose expoundings run. And the small pieces and specks can form discernible lines, a message for your journey. If they're strong and defined, good omens these shall be. But if they're faint, your omens changed for the worse, so heed this first. And if runes form in the mucky slough, places and names shall be clear to you. Cast your stones or cast your bones, for details that should confirm your newfound views. Imp's poetic blood eagle. To the Allfather, Odin, and to the Satan, Loke, I offer you a powerful adversary, carving open the back like Sarimnir's fair, degloving bone in the cold morning air. I've seen the ivory spears arisen from the crimson bog, severed the bosom from the chine. Outstretched, they appear divine, dressed and addled, adorned with lung-like wing. The sacrificed to suffer all of these, cinched up to dry, I fill my horn with blood and drinketh. Imp's poetic blot. All have gathered here today to feel the crimson spray of blood, a power shower stained as the earth with blood. In the names of the gods, your blood, slash the main vein for great display. Sprig of brush will broaden the sway. Rubies trickle down the stones and fill the bowls and grace the horns to be consumed, swilled, and they'll boil on the rocks or roasted in the earth, and we'll feast. Swill the blood, gobble the flesh, blot the soul, consume the rest. Swill the blood, gobble the flesh, blot the soul, consume the rest. Ludibrium de Christus. Passover. At what is to be your Last Supper, you find a small parcel. Within, an envelope concealing a letter that reveals that the loved one sharing this last meal with you has betrayed you. And I, with whom you also share the meal, am here to kill you. You've been made aware that any attempt to avoid this death is empty, void, a futile gesture, something that is flawlessly planned and executed on an annual ritual basis. Led to the garden, you are forced to face your dread, your fear, to pray to your God and accept your impending demise. You cannot escape, for we have restrained you, and just as you approach some manner of resolve, I and your loved one return. Your loved one kisses you, a kiss that marks the beginning of the end. I follow the kiss with a blackjack to your skull. Awaken to an unfamiliar ceiling. Here is where you are slapped, spit upon, and a crown of thorns is placed atop your head, pressed down deep into the flesh and skull. You are whipped by cattails 39 times, razor-sharp barbs ripping your flesh like a broken saw through precious leather. And as you lay broken and bloody, defeated, you are raped, penetrated through every orifice, vaginally torn, anally prolapsed. The nails are driven through your hands and feet, binding you to the crucifix. Small incisions are performed to drain your blood for drink, and when you die, you shall be removed from your crucifix and portioned, quartered, if you will, for consumption, a sacrament akin to the body and blood of your Christ. Amen. Imp's druidic sacrificial divination. In circle of stone, atop the ancient dune of gravel and bone, stifled by Tiad, strategically fastened for a beautiful bleed. And when we raise golden blade and release claret fountain, and drinketh, a covenant has been made. We lift white stave above our heads. It swiftly drops to crush yours dead. Crush it dead, crush it dead. Mantras ancient have been spoken. All the blood that spilled and no tears shed. Entrails dropped within the stain. The sacrificial gorged with mistletoe and pollen grain. Anthropomancy foretells the fates, plucking knowledge from beyond divine gates, a gift given to us this night, for our love, for our sacrifice. Imp's encounter with Baba Yaga. Near the Divina and Renega, south of Arkhangelsk, there stands a fence made from the bones of Lyudstvo. I went there, and as I approached I heard children in anguish, screaming, and the sobbing of their mothers and fathers, agonizing, enraged screams and cries. And beyond the bones, a clearing, a break from the dense birch and fir, and a hut or cabin at its center. Few who behold it live to tell about it, and if you've told of it, it's because she let you. She who lives within. This is her hut. This is her forest. I exclaim, turn your back to the forest, your front to me. I enter the hut. I was polite. I was compliant. I was ignorant, yet aware, moreover, and still finished my fare, save the small one's fingers, the ones with auburn hair. Enlightened to the phenomenon of kind, I was full, more than full, restored, replenished, empowered, transcended, liberated. I stole a soul, souls, the essence of mankind's ghost. A covenant was made between the Baba and me, and I am left ever wanton, ravenous, insatiable, a beast, her beast, forever. Long pig, cutlet von Geist. The brain grants spirit, soul, intel. The heart, courage, strength, stamina, contentment. The muscle grants coercion and the strong will of force. The guts, instinct, compassion. The blood grants rejuvenation and youth. The Tivtzov, a rite of passage for the boy to empower the Tsao. He's better off hunting himself if the elders will allow, lest he's prepared to offer younger kin to the elder who gave him the sacred flesh. 'Twas not at all a sin to carry out the hunt and kill for this ancient ritual. Now he will do this until his flesh debt is paid in full, and continue on to consume man's flesh, to strengthen the Tsao until death, to feed the spirit, strengthen the self with every eager breath, every eager bite, ever eager. The Satanic Luciferian Illuminati Initiation. In a very large, upscale, private kitchen, there stood two women, one prepping preliminary courses, the other prepping the butcher station, positioning the block, and so on. The women wore white aprons and hairnets, and on the counter below the block, a white cloth, like a blank canvas, waiting to be painted. One of the women left the kitchen, only to promptly return with an infant. Gently, she laid the infant onto the block, and entertained or played with him, as the other woman approached from behind and proceeded to slit the infant boy's throat with a straight razor. The woman who initially held the boy quickly lifted him over a large pot and drained the blood. Nearby, two more pots would contain the organs, following his gutting, which was done in a manner akin to the way in which a large hare would be prepared. A cleaver and a small saw were used to remove the head, hands, and feet. They stuffed the infant with a breaded vegetable mixture. In a large baking pan, they slid the boy into the oven, preheated to 450 degrees, and reduced to 350 degrees for 3 hours and 45 minutes, basting periodically. The dining room contained a large, lavish Nero Margina black marble table with 12 matching chairs. Against the wall, running parallel to the main table, was a smaller rectangular one of the same material, upon which were seating arrangements for the guests, 10 to honor, 2 to be honored, the initiates. Everyone casually engaged in small talk, wearing formal attire, complete with wooden and or ceramic masks, pagan masks depicting animals. A blow of a Viking war horn or drinking horn signaled the beginning of the ritual as the guests and host took their seats. The host welcomed the guests and explained the menu, a 5-course meal, the main course described as a special cut of a locally sourced Ingolstadt long pig. The announcement of the main course was received with muffled, stifled laughter and giggles, save the guests of honor, who were completely oblivious as to the origin of the main course, let alone the implications of the ritual. Before eating the main course, the host raised his glass. At this moment, one of the two women from the kitchen rounded the table, filling the glasses for each guest with what appeared to be a red wine. The host's toast went thusly: "Our organization welcomes our guests of honor. Here in our company you will never be judged, but encouraged in all of your endeavors. However, know that now more than ever you must be ruthless, greedy, prideful, hateful, strong and steadfast in the face of adversity, and clever beyond that of the collective standard. Do not waste your love on those who have not yet earned the privilege. Exceed expectations of yourself and others. Devour power, power of social status, of physical and spiritual status, societal status, of mental fortitude and emotional control, the power of the divine. These will set you apart from the lower class, the cattle, sheep, pigs, and piglets that they are, those who are destined only to serve us and feed us, destined for the slaughter, and we shall be divine in turn, like gods among men." The host and guests drink their thick crimson liquid. Whether the guests of honor are able to identify it or not as blood is irrelevant, as they appear to enjoy it, as well as ponder its oddly familiar metallic zest. The host continues, "Let our beloved guests of honor be the first to indulge in this exquisite long piglet." The guests chuckle and cheer as the main course is placed before the guests of honor, the initiates. The first bite is slow, contemplated, analyzed. Every bite following the first is enjoyed to its fullest extent, ecstatic and savory. Once the guests of honor finish their first helping, everyone eats. This is always the way. The guests shared their stories, anecdotes, and so on. Eventually, the inevitable question was asked. "How long have you been partaking of the long pig?" The guests of honor replied, "To be honest, we're not really familiar with the term or species, as it were." The high host signals to the women of the kitchen. The women in white and crimson bring out one final surprise course, a course not intended to be consumed, but admired. They set the cloche at the center of the table. The host concludes, "In honor of my previous toast, what we have here is not dessert. This is a rite of passage, the very core of your initiation, and a constant reminder, a motivational tool for just how ruthless and insatiable you must be to carry on within our organization, and just how imperative it is that you remain in our company." The host signals a final time. The lid of the 18th century cloche is lifted to reveal the heads of two infants, distinctly legitimate, bizarre, staring the guests of honor directly in their faces. One initiate promptly screams, cries, then vomits. That same initiate has a moment of clarity and abruptly attacks another guest, only to be stifled with a swift bullet right between the eyes and two more in the chest. The second guest of honor asks the host if there is any possibility of reevaluating the option for the final course as being dessert, as he brushes one of the infant's heads with his fingertips, then brings the head to his mouth for one last sample of blood. He is welcomed with laughter and applause. Imp's superfood sanguine. Your flesh is my flesh, and my flesh my god's. His finger, pointing from my sphere, leads me to you, a rod of the divine. Inevitable unity, immediate familiarity. Chosen, you are mine. Give yourself as the pig you are, selflessly, yet with fear, to do with as I desire. My sphere is a black hole, and around us his snare, where nothing escapes and nothing is spared. Then I shall despoil your flesh, and despoil your life force, and I shall drink of your blood and dine on your flesh, devour all. Satiated a champion, I've arrested my prize, my sphere and my power galvanized. I feel it. I feel you coursing through my veins, my everything. But I am not thankful to you, you who was placed before me, for me, destined to be my prey. 'Twas written before you existed, anticipated, expected. You did not give yourself to me. You were already mine. I see the future. I am stronger and craven, more powerful, closer to divinity, a ravenous beast, demon, the Slange. I am Imp K, Lokessen. The panic prerogative. Wine, honey, milk, goat's blood, mandrake, and saffron. combined under the hushed brilliance of twilight. Not long now before our complete October moon adorns us with its gift, his gift. And so we usher in the mythos with the hunt for her, our nymph, virginal, young, ignorant, our syrinx, our echo. She is there, illuminated by the moon, unaware of the apex predator's loom. But she is to be made aware with the panic Krog, and she must be aboard, mortified, before the panic rod of reed renders our nymph inert. In the dark forest within the grotto's deepest recesses, she awakens to the song of the syrinx pipe. But as beautiful and sedating as its voice, she is not soothed, not enough. This is necessary, desired. She will drink of our concoction by any victorious method as we receive our own sacrament of the same element from goblets of olive wood. But before the sacrament, the incantation. O great Pan, king of vast, lavish thicket and nethermost grotto, I implore your domain and implore thee to consecrate this cave with your spirit, your essence. O insatiable lustful Pan, king of the erotic threat and hopeless desire of self-gratification, I implore thee, consecrate my hands and phallus as I remove the garments of our nymph and gratify myself for my pleasure and her repulsion. O drunken Pan, king of pleasure and duke of the drink, second only to Dionysus in this rite, consecrate our goblets of libation, an offering to you and a sacrament for us in your name, O great god, Pan. Our nymph, terrified, has bore witness to the first incantation of Pan. Sacrament received. It settles for moments as we dance and play his syrinx pipe. To the stones she is fastened, as not to rouse escape, shaking, convulsing, and a trifling sum of urine collects at her knees. Now we can begin our second incantation. O great Pan, king of hopeless desire and rage of the beasts and primal nature, I hereby enter this virgin nymph with my adorned phallus, and in spirit of beasts, the gods and primal man, ravage, devastate her with thrusts of satyrs and centaurs, slapping and clawing as I do so for you, O ravenous Pan. The nymph is overwhelmed with the onslaught, the erotic weapon throwing her into the brutal arms of pain, confusion, panic, and ultimately unconsciousness. This is the precursor to the third and final incantation. O bestial Pan, king of the hunt, I have seized my prey in your name, with Athenian reed and your divine Kraug. I will not disparage your name with the sacrifice of goat, for they are yours, and they are effortlessly felled. I sacrifice this nymph for you, and a sacrament for me shall she be. I implore thee, consecrate the nymph's body, blood, and spirit, so that I may receive your sanctification and perfection on intimate provision. In your name, O great god Pan, I will physically and metaphysically consume this nymph and your gift. In your name, we are triumphant in the ways of the erotic desire and Scythian, Theestesian, Laestrygonian rites. I am free, so let it be. Under eclipsed sun, Imp's Wrath. Your holy relics are human trash, your mortal messiah born from a filthy whore's gash, and your sacred scriptures, forgeries scribed in fruitless blood. The poisonous bile that spews from your clergyman's lips is enough to condemn them to necrosis, and their families tortured and raped in heathen mud under eclipsed sun. Under eclipsed sun, your flesh are sacrament. Under eclipsed sun, you are the excrement. Under eclipsed sun, a festering, abhorred disease, a fleeting sacrifice strips your apocryphal deity of vitality. The preceding, as stated, are excerpts from Imp K Lokessen's Slange, the Book of Madness, the SOW Grimoire, concerning Anthropomancy and Cannibal Craft. Only a small glimpse into the Grimoire. In the future, we'll reveal more of the Book of Madness, touching on varying subject matter concerning Lokecentric practices. Until then, we hope you are able to choke this down without vomiting. Until next time, Skål and Hagel Satanen Loke.